Okay, we're good.
Hello, and welcome to today's Mighty Underdogs podcast. My name is Armando Ojeda, and here with me is my fellow Mighty Underdog, serial entrepreneur and book author, Tom Nixon. Hello, Tom.
Wow, hello. I didn't realize I earned all of those titles. But I guess you could call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, right?
Well, yeah, but actually, all of that is true.
I guess so, yes. All right, well, what are you calling yourself near the end of the year here? We're winding down to another year, getting ready to kick off a new one. What's keeping you busy these days?
Well, small business owner under stress, right?
Yeah.
So I went through all of my pictures, just to see what I had done this year, and went through my records, and it's like there's been a lot that's been accomplished, and I keep thinking, well, I haven't accomplished everything, right? So right now I'm just reflecting on what I've done, where I am right now, what commitments I've made, and how that's going to fly into 2023.
Yep, that sounds about right. Yep, this is the time of year for people like me in marketing that we do what you just said. So, like, let's look at the metrics. What did we accomplish? But then, what do we need to set as New Year's resolutions, so to speak? So, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And so one of my goals, not resolution, but goals, is to be better with technology and stop being a technology immigrant.
Well, I haven't written that book yet, so you're on your own.
So today we have some really interesting guests with a great story.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I met these folks, I think over the summer, and actually had a chance to sample their products. So I'm excited to bring them on to the show.
Perfect. Well, let's bring them on.
Perfect. All right. Well, you want me to introduce our guests here?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Cool. Reintroduce myself to our guests, Evan Weber and Stephanie Traskis, who, like you said, have an interesting story to tell about their business and a really cool product. It's called Nakee Butter. Doesn't that sound intriguing? We're going to learn what that's all about. But it's a product that is used by quote unquote high performing humans like myself, or yourself, I should say, Armando, who need a healthy, quick snack to round out their day and take on their next adventure. So let's welcome them to this adventure. Evan and Stephanie, thanks for being here.
Hi, guys.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. So glad to be here.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yep. Well, we're happy to have you. So let me just say up front, for full transparency, I am like an unabashed Nakee Butter fan. And my wife is worse because I get all of these Nakee Butter boxes every week at my house, right? Packets, jars. And so I buy a lot more fruit and I eat a lot more chocolate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sounds like a good life.
Yes. So let's start. Tell us about Nakee Butter, the business. How you guys started, or what was the idea that brought it to life?
Yeah. So I started Nakee Butter out of I saw a gap in the market. I saw, as a competitive athlete, I was looking at either being a service-based or a product-based company. I knew I wanted to have my own company after working in the corporate world for years, and I realizing that it's not something that I wanted to do. And I also come from a construction background, so I knew that I didn't want to swing a hammer for the rest of my life. And I quit my job, had no idea what I was going to do in the corporate world. I collected unemployment while I searched. I basically delved into the sphere of just creativity, trying to figure out what is out there, what is not out there. Because one thing as entrepreneurs is we look at is problem first and then solving for that problem. So what are problems that I am having and other people like me in my reality, in my world, what problems are they having? And then look at the market and see where there are gaps in the market. And so it was 2013 when I first established the LLC. I set that up. I learned how to do that myself. And then the next 2 to 2.5 years was spent in my kitchen formulating, because I don't have a food science background or a culinary background. So I was putting products and putting ingredients together and putting them into Tupperware containers, mixing them up and see how they would react in different circumstances. So in different environments, heat, cold, no oxygen, a lot of oxygen, sunlight, all of these different factors that would affect food, and see, what happened and how they tasted. So it was a very rudimentary way of starting, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And the naivety that I had during that time actually helped me do something, because if I would have known how much work it was, I would not have started. And so basically, I knew that. So I was working actually with Score in the beginning, and Score, one of my mentors, she said to me, because I was all over the place, she said, Evan, you need to start. You need to start your funnel. What do people look at you as a expert in? What do they look at you as somebody that that knows their stuff? And I said, well, it's easy. It's health and wellness, because at the time I was deep into bodybuilding, and I did 3 bodybuilding shows, and I was training people, and I was writing nutrition plans for people, and I was known as kind of like the nutrition guy. And so I said, well, that's easy, health and wellness. She goes, that's where you need to start. So start at the health and wellness and then work down. So now product, service. And I didn't really want to continue in the training sphere. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with that service industry. So I went product based. And from there, what does the industry in health and wellness have? What are they missing? I started everywhere from vitamins to protein snacks. And ultimately, that's where I saw that gap in the market, was into easy, on the go, nutritious, high protein snack foods that actually taste good. Because that was the biggest thing, is like, you could have a great protein product or a great product that's for you, but it doesn't taste good. And so you'll never eat it again. You feel like you have to rather than you want to. So, so in October of 2015, I launched the first product, which is Nakee Butter Focus. And then it's been, Stephanie came on, what was it, 2 years, 3 years after that?
No, it was February 2016.
Okay, there you go. So,
So just like 6 months.
yeah. So after launching the product, and yeah, so that's where we're at. And so to date now, we've been Nakee Butter has been on the market since October of 2015. I started as an e-commerce based company, and then in 2019 made the conscious decision to be, so basically heavily dive into the e-commerce side of things. I saw where the market was going again. I saw that people were shifting away from buying things, and it was a lot more difficult when buying things at the grocery store or buying things at your local markets. It's paralysis by analysis. As a consumer, I noticed that I walked into grocery stores and I got the same thing that I always did. I wanted to get in and get out as quick as possible. And so after seeing this pattern with myself, I noticed it with other people. So in 2019, went more to be going more to be an e-commerce based company rather than the typical wholesale broker model that a lot of food companies fall into. And then when COVID happened, it turned out to be a really good thing that I made that decision earlier to put all of our efforts into e-commerce versus, the typical wholesale direct to store consumer model.
It's interesting the way you just positioned that, because I think I asked you when I met you over the summer, like, is this a category that you're creating in a lot of ways? So I'm not in your target market. You can probably tell just by looking at me, but I know of protein bars, and I know of protein shakes, and I know of protein drinks. And to your point, if a typical consumer walks into the grocery store, they might know one of those things and are looking for one of those things. But you were so innovative with this product. To me, it feels like you're establishing your own category. So I wanted to ask Stephanie, because I understand you do most of the marketing. With that challenge comes an opportunity. How are you positioning the product? How are you explaining the product? And how are you differentiating in the way that Evan envisioned from the very beginning?
Yeah, so you're right about that. It is kind of a category of its own. It's not quite a protein bar. It's not just nut butter. A lot of times people say, "Oh, it kind of reminds me of Nutella," and I'm like, "Well, not quite that either."
Mm-hmm.
I think Nutella is more akin to a frosting than a nut butter spread, personally.
Yeah.
So it does take a little bit of that education piece of, yeah, this is Nakee butter is a spread with benefits. So that's the tagline and that's the core of what our product is. And so we say Nakee butter is a line of spreads with benefits. So we have the first spread, which is Nakee butter focus, which targets cognitive function by infusing MCT oil. All of our products have over 10 grams of protein per serving, which is where it got its start. And then we also just created our newest product, which is Nakee Butter Immunity, which is a maple sunflower butter infused with chaga, cinnamon, ginger, and elderberry to support our immune system. So it does take a little bit of education to market these products, but it really is about presenting what our problems are, what the consumer's problem is. You're a high performing human. You're going here, there, you're balancing a lot of life roles. You might be a parent, you could be a teacher, you could be also an entrepreneur on the side. You're juggling these different roles. So we present the problem of, hey, you're on the go, you need healthy nutrition. You don't want some label that sounds like it's made in some scientific laboratory,
Right.
unbeknownst to us, which is what a lot of protein snacks on the market are now looking like. It's like, if I can't pronounce these ingredients, what are they doing for me? And so we want to create something that is easy to understand. The benefits are easy to understand, and you can take it with you on the go so that that problem is now eliminated. Oh, I don't have time to sit down and have a proper meal. I don't want to turn to a crappy protein bar that I don't know where it comes from. Enter Nakee butter. So we want to position the problem and then provide the solution through these different health benefits. Hey, it's time, this time of year where people start to get sick, and you need to be really mindful of what you come in contact with. And so what do we want to do? We want to bolster our immune support through Nakee butter immunity. So the whole idea is to take this spreads with benefits concept and create something for every specific need. So that'll include, sleep, beauty, calm. There's going to be a different spread for each health specific benefit.
And I joked earlier, I was joking when I said I was outside of your target demo, mostly self-deprecating. So, but because it's not just for the health and fitness buffs, is it? I mean, it doesn't sound like that's who. Maybe that's the problem you went out looking to solve, but now you're finding all these other probably use cases for it.
That's exactly.
Well, actually, it goes to people like me who are in cognitive decline at my age, right? And so this is really great stuff, actually.
Yeah. So I guess initially, yes, it was to cater to people that are in the the health and wellness, the fitness perhaps world.
It was specific because that's what the world I was in. As a competitive athlete, I lived in that world, and all my friends were in that world. So I created products for myself and for my friends in that world. But then,
much like you evolve, so
Yeah,
does the product.
exactly.
Okay, yes, you stemmed from this need as a competitive bodybuilder, but then you transitioned into an entrepreneur, and then it's like, okay, well, now I need this just to stay focused. Now I'm the one that doesn't have time to sit down and have a proper meal.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm my own customer.
Right.
So
Yeah, we're finding a lot with. So we're at Eastern Market every Saturday, and we get to meet thousands of people every week, and it's from all over the world. I mean, not just the U.S., but from all over the world. And it's interesting because, like you were saying, Tom, our target demographic is not the target demographic that I intentionally set out for, and they're ending up being a lot of moms, for example, right? And they want their kids to eat healthy, and they don't have a lot of time. A lot
college
of college
students.
students, exactly. We're having a lot of, and just people actually in the health field as well. So you have your nurses, so RNs and doctors, people that are going hairdressers, people that are going from client to client to client that don't have a lot of time and they want
Yoga
something quick.
instructors.
Yoga instructors. So all of these they're stacking their days, as Stephanie said, the high performing humans. I mean, if you're a high performing human, I mean, this is so that's how our demographic has changed. And so now, rather than just like as you said, an athlete or somebody, a sports buff, you're now it's a high performing human. And then we coin that phrase. We like, and that's what we serve, our other high performing humans that care. They're conscious consumers. They care about what they put into their body, and they want the best. And so that's what we do, is we create the best product for them.
Armando,
So
remember at the beginning I said that if you write your own bio, you can give yourself any title you want. So
yes,
from now on, just cut all the clutter out and just refer to me as a high-performing human.
That's right.
Right?
Perfect.
I'm certain you'll get some attention for that, and some
Sure.
positive attention. Well, how do I become a high-performing human? Like, all right, well.
I have a feeling all they'll remember from the conversation is cognitive decline, and they'll think it was
So, you guys talked about the evolution, not only of your product, but of your audience as well, your consumer. So, talk a little bit about the evolution of your business, because you started out really not knowing anything, but just doing, right? Like most entrepreneurs. So, what have you learned along the way? Both of you, because you're all in it.
Oof.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll start with a little backstory of how I became even involved at all. Evan and I worked together in a nightclub, of all places. He did security and I was bottle service, but I was in college going for my degree in public relations at Wayne State at the time. And from that initial conversation of, hey, Ev, I know you just started this business. I'm still learning in college. Can I help you in any way? Even if it's just for free. Like, and he told me, he was very transparent. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just getting started.
I can't afford to pay you.
I can't afford to pay you. And I was like, you know what? That's fine, because you're paying me with experience, because I've found myself kind of feeling like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole kind of situation, where all my friends were getting all these internships at the big three. And I'm like, none of this really feels right to me. And so from that initial conversation, what I learned is just to try, go for it. Even if you fall on your, even if you fall on your, I don't know if I can
Face.
swear
On
on the,
your face.
well, I was
Face.
gonna say
Fall on your face.
my face, yeah, not my other end. And so, what you learn is just try, just put yourself out there, do something, because inaction is going to get you nowhere. It's just going to have you thinking, well, I wonder what it would have been like if I would have. And that, we all have those thoughts that kind of haunt us. So that is the number one thing that stuck out to me, is just, go for it,
I
try.
think that's really great advice for what I would call a stage 0 or stage 1 entrepreneur, which is, I think I have an idea and I need to see if it has legs. And so I would wholeheartedly back that sort of just that determination just to keep trying and iterating. Too many times people get either stuck in a rut and they're afraid to reiterate, or they take the first failure as the ultimate failure and they give up. But you guys have persevered well past that to what I would call a stage 2 company, because you're in a growth phase, right? And so Mighty Underdogs, that's how we kind of define them. They're no longer just a solo entrepreneur, but now they've got a company that's starting to become a living, breathing organism. And now they have to take more calculated risks and not just try anything. So I'm curious how you guys, now that you're in this growth stage of the business, are you adapting in any way? And what have you learned as you've evolved past the crazy entrepreneur with the stupid idea to, oh my God, I've got something here?
Oof. Well, I mean, I would like to, I'm going to go a little granular on this, because I was sitting on a panel last night for for Goldman Sachs 10KSB, and a question came up on the panel from one of the graduating cohorts, and they said, what is one thing that you would suggest to any one of us here in the room that would be useful on a very micro level? And the first thing that came up in my head is the same thing that came up now, is get a bookkeeper. That was the very first thing that I did not do. So anybody that is listening to this and you are at ground level, and you're just looking at ideas, and the first thing that I would do is set up a bookkeeper, because once you start making money, I'm speaking from experience, I messed up the books so bad that when I met my bookkeeper, she had to throw my books out completely. Like we reset the entire year and a half that I was in, because they were messed up so bad. There was no coming back from them. I know that doesn't go answer your question exactly, but I want to get a
Well,
little
it does sort of, because first of all, I got to say real quick, Armando, our mutual friend David Broner somewhere is smiling, right? Because that's what he always would say is get a bookkeeper. Nobody wants to do it because it's not the fun part of running the business, right? But that's why he advocates for it. And you did answer the question, because now you start getting organized. You start putting systems in place. You start delegating to people who do care about things like that. And I think that's the important lesson from going from entrepreneur to small business owner is you can't do it all and you shouldn't do it all. So I think that's great advice, Armando.
Well, totally agree. And so, what I really liked about your storyline is that you really did learn about that entrepreneurship is really just taking action, because you don't know everything, but you have to resolve the problem as you go. So, it's like flying the plane while constructing it at the same time. But now you understand where you are. And so, you understand what systems you need. And I know your consultant, Donna, and how she worked with you for a flow, to understand your processes. And, so tell us how that went for you, understanding, what you were doing.
So that was definitely a challenge that we were faced with because, we go through and you get things going, you get in the old processes, and then you start to take a bird's eye view and you're like, ooh, some things here could be going a little bit more smoothly. And so being challenged with the task of, hey, write out your business. How does your business work? If you were to explain to a Martian how your business works, or better yet, to a child, because they say that if you can explain something to a child and they understand it, then you understand it well enough yourself. So when we're challenged with looking at it from a bird's eye view and saying, all right, where can we make some improvements? Like evolutionarily, we start to say, okay, well, that's not working for us anymore. Let's now establish this and then reinforce it with our team. If it stays with us, it doesn't do us any good. So that was definitely something that I loved that Donna did, was do this and then share it with your team and make sure that everyone's on board and everyone can follow the process. It's been invaluable having the guidance of, Mighty Underdogs, of 10KSB, of really reaching out to people that have already tread the path. And that's, I think, what your lesson about getting a bookkeeper is kind of rooted in, is ask for help.
Yeah.
There's infinite resources, and we're not in this alone, and it's important just to be vulnerable and just take chances. And but yes, to have a roadmap of how your actual business works so that you can go back to it and say, all right, well, we're not doing this anymore. Why not? Let's get back on track.
I just wanted to jump in real quick for people who aren't familiar, clarify a couple of the names that you guys have thrown out there, because I think there's the spectrum of resources for the spectrum of small business owner. And you mentioned SCORE, which is a nonprofit, completely no cost mentorship for people just getting going. Great resource. Armando and I both have been mentors with SCORE. And then you mentioned the Golden Sachs 10KSB, which is 10,000 small businesses. And that is more of like, I would consider that sort of like entrepreneur university, right? But it's this crash course. And then you graduate. And someday when you're 100 people, your business, you're probably going to either be on like YEO, I think it's just called EO now, or Vistage, right? But there's this gap in between that we thought was underserved, which is why we started the whole Mighty Underdogs thing to begin with. And you guys have taken us up on it to participate in one of these, what we call CEO roundtables. To your point that you just brought up, Stephanie, it's like you need to ask for help. And entrepreneurship can be lonely because you feel like you're doing it on your own. And these peer groups, these roundtables, could be sounding boards, they could be resources, they could be the person who calls you on your stupid idea and has you, so you guys are members. Tell us what you've learned from the CEO roundtables at Mighty Underdog and how maybe you've applied a lesson learned to maybe change the way you're approaching something.
Yeah, that's it was interesting. You nailed it on the head, Tom. It was after 10KSB, after graduation, I felt alone. I felt like the business was becoming stagnant. I felt that I was becoming stagnant. I felt that I didn't have the accountability of my peers to call me out on anything or even hold me accountable. Or not even that I couldn't even talk shop with anybody. That was the biggest thing, is I missed talking shop with other entrepreneurs. And I found a lot of value in that. And so there was nothing after that. And that's when I found Mighty Underdogs. And it was like one of those things is like, this is the next step. This is what you need to do before you can get into, like, say, Vistage, right? So it's helped me solely by just by being vulnerable. That was my word yesterday. It was my one word sign out on that panel. Someone asked me one word, what do you feel is most important? And I said vulnerability. I am extremely, when it comes to sitting in the Mighty Underdog CEO roundtable, I am very transparent with numbers because I know that I am not defined by the numbers that the revenue that my business is or is not bringing in. I am not defined by anything that my business is doing, whether it positive or negative. But I only know that I can benefit from being honest, open, transparent, and vulnerable with other business owners because that gives the okay, gives the go ahead to other business owners being like, oh, look, I can't believe he just told us this. Well, now I feel comfortable telling this. And then that's how you get that cohesive, that beautiful, energetic energy flowing around. And that's what makes magic between that is people feel one person opens up and is vulnerable, and then the rest feel that it is okay to do so. And
That's empowering.
it is. And so I find that that's really the more that the business scales, the more vulnerable you have to be and not be, and I remember in the beginning, everybody, we're all scared about, having to sign NDAs, right? Oh, I don't want anyone to know your business and your idea. But it's like the more you share and the more open you are, the more research, the more comments, and the more ideas you're going to get back from people rather than trying to keep things a secret.
Yeah, you
I
can
think
often find that people are going through the same exact situation
absolutely.
that you are.
Yeah. And
So
you know what?
often.
When you're vulnerable and you share, it gets the rest of the round table like invested in your success. They
Yeah.
start rooting for you. They want to help and that takes some time, Armando. One thing I noticed, in round tables in the past, like I should tell tales out of school, but I was on a different sort of round table whose name shall remain nameless. And there was a lot of turnover in the group. And every time somebody new came in, the walls go up. Right, the guy. I don't know who this person is. Now I can't be vulnerable, and for these things to work, I think Armando, you need to be in them for a while. It's not going to be like overnight. You're not going to like have somebody reinvent your business at the first session, but over time you get to know these people, trust them, and then to your point, become vulnerable, and that's where the magic happens.
Right. And that's why we ask for commitment
Yeah.
of time. Right. So, and speaking of time, I know we're running out of it here for this podcast. So before we go, Stephanie, since you're the marketing person, why don't you tell us where we can find Nakee Butter and tell us your website?
I would be pleased to do so. So you can find Nakee Butter first and foremost at our website. That's www.nakee.co. That's NAKEE.co. We are also on Amazon and Amazon Prime. We do have a store locator on our website. So we're servicing about 150 stores, and we are heavily centered around, the Michigan area, but we are in, California, Utah, a couple states here and there. So you can
About 8
find us.
states.
Yeah, you can find us when you're on the go. And then in addition to that, we are at Eastern Market, Detroit's Eastern Market, every Saturday, slanging Nakee amongst a bunch of fantastic entrepreneurs and small business owners as well.
Cool. Well, my last
Terrific.
question is a quick 30-second answer for both of you. New Year's resolution. I don't care about your personal New Year's resolution. Your business resolution first from the original entrepreneur and then from the person in charge of marketing. What are you going to get accomplished in 2023? Evan.
We're going to launch the third spread with benefits. That's my focus going into Q1. And that is my, and to create every 6 months after. So just creating new spreads until we get a line of 9 spreads with benefits. That's the goal.
Cool. And is there a particular area of focus? I don't want to say focus because that might be the area, but like what of the, like you said, you have one that does address focus, one that might address sleep, another with beauty. Is there a target for this product?
Yes. Yeah. The next one is going to be more centered around having natural energy.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And then marketing CMO, what's going to happen in 2023?
Well, I've got a two-prong, two resolutions, two
Great.
goals, I should say. The first is to, really focus on uniting the team and getting back into our processes. And I've been really learning a lot about how to set smart goals and how to unite a team and motivate everyone behind the goal. And so the whole plan for 2023 is to continue on this track of staying motivated as a united front. And so we have a bunch of practices that we're going to be doing to enforce that. But secondly, I'd really like to, not really like to, I plan to bolster our ambassador program. We've been getting a lot of traction with high performing humans that want to represent our product. And so knowing the value of consumer generated content, it's just invaluable. So I'm going to really be focusing on building up that program so that it's not just us saying, hey, it's good, trust us, it's
Right.
going to be people in the world saying, hey, I'm just like you and I fuel myself with this, so you should do it too. So those are my two main
Cool.
goals for this year.
Nice. I think
Outstanding.
the fancy pants marketers are calling that social proof nowadays. So good for you.
Oh.
Good job.
Excellent.
Cool. Give us the website one more time. Is it Nakee.co?
Yep, NAKEE.co.
Cool. Well, thank you, Evan and Stephanie, for being here, sharing your insights and experience with us. Evan Weber, Stephanie Traskus of Nakee Butter, and also members of the Mighty Underdogs CEO Roundtable community. So thanks again.
Thanks for having us. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, this is
An
great.
honor. Thank you.
Yeah, had great fun.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to today's Mighty Underdogs podcast. This podcast provides information on to scale your business. And so join us again for another edition of the Mighty Underdogs podcast.